2 days ago, Sayadaw spoke about how, he started to speak about how within Satipatthana, there's the word Anupasana. There's the word Anupasana, but in this Satipatthana, there's Atapa, ardent effort, and Sati, and Samadhi, and then knowledge develops, and this is called Sampajanya. If this is present, if one works to generate these powers, then there is Anupasana. Atapa virya, ardent energy, must be present. And Sati also must be present. Samadhi, falling collectedly on the object, must be present, and also accurate aiming of vitaka. And due to these factors, sampajanya, in other words, panya, wisdom, knowledge, also must be present. If these 4 or 5 factors are occurring, then anupasana is occurring. Anupasana, the repeated observation. And if these 4 factors of ardent energy, mindfulness, samadhi, collectedness of mind, and aiming, correct aiming, are applied to the physical body, kaya, this big field of observation, then this is kaya nupasana. And if these 4 factors are applied to observing the feelings, pleasant or unpleasant, good or bad, then this is vedana nupasana. And if these 4 factors are used to observe thinking, imagining, and all sorts of mental activity, then there's chittanupassana. And similarly, if these 4 are employed to observe seeing, hearing, and other general objects called dhammas, then there is dhammanupassana. For anupassana to occur, it will only occur if there is keen virya, and also if there is only steadfast mindfulness, steadfast sati. And kanika samadhi, momentary concentration, has to be occurring every second. And there must be accurate aim. Only then will sampajanya occur, and only then is anupasana said to be occurring. So one must understand this, that this is the nature of the practice. So starting with the rising and the falling, if we observe every object that arises with applied energy, we have to act, and we have to apply energy. We can't be sluggish or cool. Our application of energy to observe the object has to be active. For those who are sluggish, the virya is not strong enough, and without virya there won't be sati, mindfulness. Samadhi also will not arise, and without that there can't be any panya, wisdom or knowing. Only with this systematic method does anupasana occur.
Tiravadaတရားတော်ရဲ့အကျိုးကိုဉာဏ်တို့တန်ဖိုးထားပြီးတော့ယုံကြည်
One who cherishes and treasures the benefits that come from the practice of satipatthana and believes they're possible to get, has the desire to get them, has that sanda or wholesome desire, such a yogi will practice respectfully. But Sayadaw sees a lot of disrespect at present. So for respectful practice, a respectful yogi observes every arising object with effort, mindfulness, concentration, and knowledge arises. The true nature of rupa and nama are seen. The true nature of the physical and the mental. And the mind is clean due to the development of virya, sati, samadhi, and panya. Of course, sometimes the yogi misses, and when they do, they increase their effort. And the mind falls collectedly on the object with accurate aim so that knowledge can occur, sampajanya. This is knowing truly and distinctly, knowing fully in a distinct way, knowing for oneself in a distinct and special way. If the object is directly hitting the object, rubbing against the object, then knowledge will arise. Of course, not in every noting, but it will only occur when one's energies are full, all these four factors. But one is coming to know what one didn't know before, and this is progress. When one has a clean, clear mind, then one can see nama and rupa, the mental and the physical phenomena, and how they are related by cause and effect. A yogi who possesses what Sayadaw mentioned as yoga, the 3 stages of effort, is a true yogi. And such a yogi's mind develops knowledge. But the difficulty here is that there's a lot of disrespectful practice that Sayadaw sees happening. And sometimes he goes to the office and he sees yogis who are going there. He doesn't know what business they have, but their manner is not mindful. They take long strides, they're moving quickly, and it's obvious when Sayadaw looks at them that the way they go about their practice is not respectful. If one doesn't apply effort to note the arising object and develop sati and samadhi, then samadhi kanda is lost. If there's no samadhi kanda, there won't be any knowledge. And without knowledge, the factors of panya, the panya kanda, will also be lost. So many times, it's not just once or twice that he sees yogis who are behaving carelessly. He sees this happen many, many times. And if the yogis are warned and there's no change in their behavior, then it's better for the yogis not to stay here. It's better to go home. Because if you stay here without practicing respectfully, your time here is wasted. And you're also separated from your families. So, on that side, one is also losing. If one loses on both sides, that's not worthwhile. If you give up something to come here, then you need to try to get a profit from being here. So, this can't be done with disrespectful practice. And when he sees some yogis return to their rooms, some behave as though some are disrespectful, and some are as if they're not noting at all. So this is a warning to yogis to be careful. A true yogi, a yogi who is practicing respectfully, is developing the mind, is developing his or her mind and also developing knowledge. And this yogi, the yogis who are respectful, true yogis, they are opening the path to Nibbana. So, in respectful practice, the yogi is applying ardent energy to observe every arising object. And this is right effort, samavayama. This effort dispels laziness and all the other kilesas. And with this, sati is present. Sati protects the mind. It blockades so that the kilesas can't enter. And this is samasati, right mindfulness. And the mind is collected, falling collectively on the object, so that kamachanda nivarana, the obstacle of sense desire, is eliminated. This is samasamadhi, right concentration. So when these three factors are present, samavayama, samasati, and samasamadhi, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, then pariyotana kilesas, the obsessive kilesas, are dispelled. These are the kilesas, as their name implies, they're obsessive. When the mind falls collectedly on the object, and one knows nama, rupa, and how they're related by cause and effect, and so on, then the training of panya sekha, is occurring. And at this time, the anusya kilesas are being dispelled. These anusya kilesas lie dormant, and when the opportunity is there, when conditions are favorable, they arise. But with our noting, we dispel them on a temporary basis. So every time, I can't read part of what I wrote. Every time knowledge arises of how things are impermanent, suffering, and without an inherent self, then one is free of these dormant kilesas. And this is bhavana, this is progress, this is development of the mind. Knowledge is developing, panya. And as far as sila goes, as yogis we don't have any transgressions. But, so there's not what is called, there's not the situation of avoiding transgression because there's not opportunities to transgress. But we have the intention to keep sila should an opportunity come up to break it. We have the intention not to break our sila. This is called cetana sila. So altogether, these are samavacha, right speech. Our speech, when we speak, is polite, beneficial. We say what's beneficial. And samakamanta, right action. This is avoiding killing, stealing, and adultery. And as yogis, of course, we avoid sexual activity altogether. And the third factor in the sila kanda is sama ajiva. This means that we have the intention not to do wrong while we're at work. So this intention is present to keep sila, keep morality. Thus, the three factors of the sila section of the path, samavacha, samakamanta, and samaajiva, are present. And the three factors of the samadhi kanda, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, are also present. And the two factors of the wisdom section, right aim, sammasankappa, and sammadeti, right view, these are also present. And these 8 mental factors altogether are a path. In Pali, this is called mega. So if virya, sati, samadhi, and panya are present, if virya and sati and samadhi are present, then we are free of kilesas. If not, then on a mental level, the pariyotana and anusya, the obsessive and dormant kilesas are present. But because of the presence of virya, sati, and samadhi and panya in respectful practice, one is killing the kilesas with the path of practice. One cannot have any sympathy for mental defilements. And doing the practice, putting an end to the kilesas, one gains peace. This is the path that we walk. If we walk this path straight ahead, then our physical and verbal behaviors will be delightful. They'll be clean and pure. This is the path of sila. And with the path of samadhi, our mind is clean. It becomes gentle and peaceful. And with the path of panya, wisdom, the mind becomes even more refined, more gentle, and more peaceful. These are the benefits that we gain from practice. So when yogis make the effort to observe every arising object with respect and with care all their waking hours, then they are killing the kilesas and they are walking the path of peace. They get the benefit of having a clean mind. If one is careless about practice, for example, by moving suddenly, of course, from time to time we remember, but that's not enough. We have to really eliminate sudden movements. Or if someone is not noting, then of course the practice of sila is still there. But the samadhi, the training of samadhi sekha, and the training of wisdom are being lost. And in 1 minute of careless behavior, there's 60 moments in which we're losing these two parts of the path, samadhi kanda and panya kanda. In 5 minutes of careless behavior, there's 300 moments of losing this 5-fold path of concentration and wisdom. And in 1 hour, there will be 36 moments of loss. If one works respectfully, one won't lose. So when one develops the mind, this bhavana mind, which is clean, then knowledge will grow. For this, one needs to be a true yogi. So Sayadaw asked the yogis very seriously to please value this work. When one doesn't value the work one is doing, others look at that and they don't feel inspired. So one shouldn't pretend to be a true yogi. Some of the yogis here are really true yogis, but the ones who aren't are quite careless, and there are quite a few of them, quite a lot. So this work that we do in the practice is beneficial, very beneficial. Don't lose out on the benefits. If you apply the practice, you will get benefit. So it's said that when there's virya, sati, samadhi, and panya, when these powers are full, then Vipassana occurs. So what benefit is there to an Vipassana? The Buddha explained this in essence. He said, Vineya loke abeja domanasang. Loke means loka. It means what one is observing. It means both the field of observation that is our being and every arising object within that. Starting with the rising and the falling, if we make ardent effort to note every arising object, sati is present, samadhi develops, and knowledge develops. So we come to know the true nature that is there, tension or stiffness in the rising, for example. And due to knowing this, the light of knowledge arises. This dispels the darkness of ignorance. When we know, we don't cling. We don't cling on to phenomenon. When we don't cling, we don't grasp. So, one dispels the abeja and domanassa, the lobha and dosa, the greed and anger, which would otherwise occur regarding what is occurring within us in the field of observation. If anupasana were not present, these defilements, greed and anger, would occur. But due to anupasana being there, there's no chance for these to arise. And each moment anupasana is present, that is a moment in which these kilesas are being dispelled. Each moment of quelling these kilesas is called tadanga vinaya, or momentary dispelling. And when bhavana has momentum, when the development of this clean mind has momentum, and when the samadhi, the training of samadhi and the training of panya have become strong, even though we miss an object, no kilesas will arise because our practice has distanced them. They're far away. This is called vikambana vinaya, dispelling them by distancing them. An example of how the mind, the bhavana mind, has momentum, an analogy for it is like when we ride a bicycle. When we start off, we have to push off. At first it's harder to pedal. At the very start, that's when pedaling is the hardest. And then, as we continue to pedal, the bicycle gains momentum. And after we're going, we can even coast. So this, even though we're not pedaling any longer, the bicycle will continue to go. And this is an example. This is what this vikambana vinaya is like. Because of the momentum of our noting, the kilesas are far away from our mind, and thus they can't arise even though we miss a noting. And this is the benefit that respectful yogis surely get at the present moment when they practice. When the three trainings are complete in this way, then the path to peace is open. And this path is described as Arya. This means that it's clean and pure. And how it's clean and pure is that our morality, the training of sila, makes our physical and verbal behavior faultless. And the samadhi, seka, the training of samadhi, makes our mind clean and pure. And with the training of wisdom and quelling the anusaya kilesas, the dormant kilesas, the mind is even more pure. So when something is dirty, then it's low level. But this path, on the other hand, is Arya. It's pure and clean, and so thus it's something that elevates us. So to say that this path is parisuddho, clean, well, what is it clean of? Due to the application of effort to observe every arising object and accurate aim, knowledge develops. Not knowing isn't good. It's unclear. It's murky. So by doing this, by this practice, knowledge occurs. If knowledge doesn't occur, we cling on to things. But when we know, when there's knowledge, even though we encounter something that's enticing or pretty, we don't grasp onto it. We can just observe it. So our mind remains clean of attachment. So when we're clean of not knowing and clean of knowing in the wrong way, there's also not clinging or grasping onto things. And these three things are what make up the cycle of kilesas, the cycle of defilements. We're clean of these defilements of ignorance, craving and clinging. And when we do the practice, when we're walking this path, we're also no longer performing ordinary good deeds, ordinary kusala. And of course, we're not doing akusala, unwholesome deeds at all. What is occurring at the time we walk the path? There is a type of wholesome deed which stops the cycle of existence. Kusala, vivata kusala which breaks the cycle. And this type of kusala is very high level. The Buddha declared that these kilesas are the cause of suffering, of all of our suffering. They are bad in and of themselves, plus they bring bad results. Every time that we observe with virya, sati, and samadhi, every time these are present, when panya arises, then ignorance, not knowing, is eliminated. Due to ignorance being eliminated, craving is also eliminated. And without craving, then there's no clinging on to things either. So this is the cycle of kilesas. And due to eliminating the kilesas, the result that they bring is also, it can't come about. So this is kamma, and Sayadaw is only going to say this in a very general way at present because there's not time to go into the details. But the result of the kilesas is eliminated, the cycle of kamma, the cycle of actions. And thus, the cycle of results, the cycle of vipaka, is also eliminated. Thus, this path is also described as sama dukkhakyagami. So, when we observe the object with virya, sati, samadhi, panya, there's systematic practice. And on three levels, the three grades of kilesas are being quelled each moment. Every time we have observation, then the dormant kilesas are being eliminated and at that moment. And if we have 10 moments of observing in a systematic way. Then we have 10 moments of eliminating these kilesas. So this is described, sama dukkhakyagami means that this is the systematic path which leads to the elimination of suffering. And in another place, the Buddha said that if one does not practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness, these 4 that Sayadaw has described, then one misses the path to Nibbana, this path that leads systematically to the elimination of suffering, is closed. But on the other hand, if one practices and develops the 4 foundations of mindfulness, then this path leading to the elimination of suffering is open. And this is what Sayadaw is going to continue to discuss tomorrow. That's all for tonight.